I'm Gemma Harper. I'm the Chief Executive of JNCC, the Joint Nature Conservation Committee, with the UK's Statutory Advisor on Nature. JNCC is a science organisation and we really are aiming to be interdisciplinary. So I'm sure there are many people who have social science capability within the organisation. We're on a journey to make sure that we are recognising all the different science professions, including recruiting recently economists. It's important that we have the right ecological expertise so that we can provide the right advice to government, but also increasingly important to recognise that the values at stake from ecological collapse aren't just environmental values, but they are economic values, social values, cultural values. And so we are really keen to build our ability to understand a wide range of evidence from across the social and natural sciences. I think storytelling is important for all of us who are working on the environment, on nature, on climate. There's a huge amount of evidence, really compelling, robust evidence about what's happening in terms of the state of nature and the state of climate. But clearly there's not enough change to what we're seeing, despite the overwhelming amount of robust evidence in relation to that. And I think that's partly because we're not telling the right story. We're not appealing to people's hearts as well as to their minds. And I think really good storytelling does both. It's very much about the analytical and the logic and the how, but it's also really importantly about the emotional, about the narrative, about the why. And if you could get both right and combine them, then you're much more likely to be able to incentivize people to take action. So I think there's lots of evidence, growing evidence, about the importance of good storytelling. We've been telling stories for our entire evolution, and we will continue to as a species. And I'd like to see both JNCC and the wider environmental science community tell better stories about the why what we're doing is so important and the consequences of what we're seeing in nature today. I think leadership is the way in which we think about leadership as responsibility to enable others to fulfill our common purpose is really, really important. And the way in which I've been learning about leadership is very much in line with thinking about hope as a leadership skill. So that means that it's really important that we acknowledge the situation that we find ourselves in, we acknowledge the reality of what's happening, that thinking about storytelling, that we empathize with how that makes us feel. I think there's a great sense of loss at the moment in terms of what we're seeing from a wide variety of indicators in the natural world. But it's really important that as leaders, we don't become despondent, because that won't get us any further. It's really important that we consider hope as a leadership skill, that we consider the possibility of a different future. We imagine a different reality. And I think it's painting that picture through effective storytelling, through appealing both to our emotional selves as well as our analytical selves, that's a really important part of leadership. So leadership is a responsibility in and of itself. It's a responsibility to others, and hope is a leadership skill that we can practice and exercise to enable others to achieve our collective purpose. And all of that becomes increasingly more important as we look at some of the data that we have about the state of the natural world. We talked today about answering the question, what is life calling us to do? And I found that to be such a helpful question throughout my career. And ultimately, for me, it comes down to my values and to my purpose. What do I think I'm here to do? What do I want to do with my life on this planet? And for me, that is all about a mission for nature. And I very much explicitly include people in nature, as part of nature. So I think when we have a good, strong sense of our purpose, that can be our guiding light in terms of our lives, in terms of our careers. It also then gives for me anyway, a deep sense of sort of power in myself. I think that's far too often we can give our power away. It can feel like it's taken away. We often have the feeling that we need to be somebody else, or we need to be less of ourselves and more of somebody else. And I think having a kind of full acceptance of ourselves and learning to do that, being comfortable in our own skin, really having that deep self-belief that accepts all of ourself, all the wonderful things and all the not so wonderful things, gives you that sense of power and your ability to deliver against your purpose. And for me, I've just found the older I've got, the more I've recognized my purpose, the more I feel that sense of power, that it's just a peaceful state to be in when those things are aligned. If I don't feel I'm working on my purpose, if I don't feel I have any power, then that is not a healthy state for me to feel, and that's when I don't feel peaceful. So I'm always thinking about how am I aligning with those particular concepts and words. For other people, it would be different things, but I think recognizing that for ourselves, our own individuality, and what's important for us, and to have some level of contentment when there's so many difficult things to deal with in life is really important to live a good life. I think Patrick Divine Wright's done a wonderful job between Exeter University and Surrey University of bringing this incredible programme together, which is about advancing climate and environment, social science. I think we've had a very good natural science understanding of the problems for a long time. We need to bring to bear the power across a wide range of social sciences to that understanding, to the framing of the problem, as well as to the solutions to the problem. And part of that is community and networking and bringing the expertise together, which I see happening here over the last 2 days. It's a great sense of energy and camaraderie here. And I also think it's about elevating social sciences so that they are valued and respected as equivalent and of equal importance, and sometimes more important than the natural sciences. And I think this initiative, this programme, which is funded by the ESRC, is hugely important at this time to bring that sense of community, of common cause, of sharing of experience and expertise, of strategic networking out into the environment sector and other sectors, so that this group of social scientists can develop their purpose, find their power, and be at peace with what they're doing in their professional lives.